We're live.
Cubo Raza, thank you for joining us today again for our Pláticas Con El Pueblo. We're happy to have you again and happy to have this moment to engage with all of you, especially today as our topic today is Viva la Mujer in honor of International Women's Day. And so a little bit about International Women's Day. It is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of the mujeres. Today, as La Raza Unida Party, we will be focusing on the mujeres of Aztlán, of La Raza, of your brown, beautiful mujer that is in the calles organizing and has been organizing for years and centuries. And we have a very special guest with us today. We all like to call her Tia Estela. She's our community tia. She has been organizing for many years. And what we want to do today is give her space to talk about the history and cultivation of La Chicana, la activista, right? The mujer that is all encompassing chingona. And today, Tia Estela, thank you so much for joining us and for being with us and for sharing your story with us. That has been cultivated over time. And I want to go ahead and yield the floor to you so that you can give us a little bit of history of mujeres in the movimiento and specifically within La Raza Unida Party.
Okay. Hi. Well, buenas tardes. What an honor. What a beautiful, wonderful occasion to be here celebrating las mujeres that hold up so many situations in our daily lives. I know that a lot of you have known or are strong role models, strong women that single moms and grandmas and tias, that take the lead in the family, and sometimes we don't have a compañero and we have to make our way, and and a lot of those women really do become independent and strong. Well, my name is Estela Ayala, and I know that the screen might say another name. It's because my dance teacher set me up, and her name's Virginia Carmelo. I'm Estela Ayala. I am a Raza Unida organizer. I am also an Aztec dancer. I've been an Aztec dancer for about 30 years now. And I'm really sad because we can't do anything right now because of the pandemic. But it's in my heart and in my soul, and it's my culture, and I love doing it when I am doing it. I want to start off by saying that women, when it comes to organizing, or women, when we're in situations where we know we have to step up, we do it. There's no thinking about ourselves, nor thinking about the dangers. We just step up and we do what we have to do. We do it all the time. We do it every day, and you could see it, like my girl said earlier. You could see the women walking in the street, and that they're hustling, they're working, they're taking the bus, they're running, they're taking care of other people's children, they're raising them, really. They're doing so many things. So when we knew that we could be part of the Chicano movement, because the Chicano movement was a movement, a people's movement. We weren't like told, no, you can't participate, you got to stay home, or anything like that. I gotta say, I was told, no, you can't participate, you got to stay home, when I was a minor, because I was very fortunate to have Chicano movement come to my house, because my older brother Genaro Ayala is one of those main organizers. He's the one that established Raza Unida in the city of San Fernando, and he got us involved. And in one family, some people are interested, some people aren't. Some people think you're crazy, some people think you're wasting your time. A lot of people told me and my brother we were going to grow out of it, and we never did, because when Chicano movement gets in your heart, it stays there. It stays there. My mother used to say this with religion, but I say this with the movement. My mother used to say, like a hot iron, it sticks in your heart and it never comes out, you know? And that's what Chicano movement is, because we feel a sense of enlightening, you know, like we realize what's going on. We understood a long time ago, sisters and brothers, that our community was affected by everything that surrounded. We knew, I knew at a very young age in junior high, I want to say, that your image, if it didn't fit the mold, was rejected. And so I wasn't blonde, I wasn't a white, I wasn't tall, I wasn't any of those. I was a short, dark Chicanita, and I was proud of it. And I would say, and and looks, and beauty, it's like, well, you could rely on that, but that's skin deep and it lasts so long, and so you have to be a woman of substance. You have to show that you care about something in the world. What we care about in La Raza Unida, in the Chicano movement, is our people. We know that there's police brutality. We know that we don't have health care for our people. We know that we have a problem with our children going out there looking for things and get involved in gangs and drugs and all of this. We know that the police targets them because they're brown men and young ladies. So so we always raise the children and raise our consciousness with a little bit of a defensive attitude, because it is a dangerous world out there in American society for brown and black people. It really is. And we have to guard and protect our children and educate them that this could happen to them. They're not going to get away with things white kids would get away with. They're not even answering the teachers. They're not getting the quality education that white kids get. So we have to step up. We have to make sure they do it. Mija, I'm so proud of you and your parents, because I know that they were the example, and they influenced you to get your education, your higher education. I'm really, really proud of you and all the Chicanas that that made it through this system, and and with a clear head and understand what it's all about. So so while we were organizing La Raza Unida, we realized that we were influenced, because we were women, we were influenced by white feminists. And white feminists were telling us that that we have to reject the men, and that they are macho, and that that we could just have to go against them, like they're the enemy. And we realized really real fast, and it was one of the conferences, actually, that I believe there was a conference in 1970, and there was a conference in 1971, and there was a conference in 1974. And these conferences took place in Denver, Arizona, in Texas, Houston, Texas, and in Mexico City. And in the first conference, I believe it was the conference in Houston. The women in the Raza Unida said, we don't want to be liberated. That came off real bad, real bad. Like, what? They couldn't believe it. And so, they were talking to the white feminists. They said, we don't want to be liberated the way your definition of liberation is, because we are women of color, and we are Chicanas, and we are in a struggle, and we are in a movement, and it is the Chicano movement. And as far as we're concerned, we're united with the brothers to try to move forward in our movement for justice for our people. So they had to understand that our definition of supporting our cause, and their definition of wanting to be liberated, was two different things. It really was. So I really go back, and I want people to really, women especially, to really realize this. Sometimes, I hate to say it, we think we're white, or we think we fit that mold, and what a mistake. Because I'll tell you right now, the suffrage movement, which meant the right for women to vote, started in 1920. White women, Native Americans in the 60s, African Americans in the 60s, and still some Mexicans don't get to vote. So, it's like that's not true that women were part of that movement. That was a white woman's movement. And they did get the right to vote. We didn't. There was still a lot of things that were going against us as females, as working class, as the color of our skin. There were a lot of things going against us. So we have to be that much tougher. We have to be that much smarter. We have to understand. And while we know that we're influenced by all this stuff around us, we have to be tactful and clear when we point it out to our brothers and sisters, because they don't know they're influenced by the system. They don't know that from day one, when you start going to school, they tell you who your boss is, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, who you're going to be accountable to. They tell us this, they raise us this way because we're the workforce of the world, and then they treat us really bad, and then they tell us it's our fault, and then they tell us we don't want to succeed, and then so this is what happens in a society that has a very racial pecking order. It's like the white men are on top, then it's the white women, then it's the working class, and then it's the brown people, and then on the bottom of all that, it's the women. It's the women. And we have to struggle to pull our way up and make it clear to everybody, no somos mensas. We're very conscious. We're very smart. We may not say things right away, but we think about it because we know how to handle situations. So I don't know if there's any questions. We have historically been a part of the different movements. I could tell you that way back in the 1800s, women took up arms, and fought alongside the revolutionaries. I'm sure there was sexism. I'm sure that women were told to, stay in their place, but they had to do what they had to do because we didn't have an alternative. During the Pachuco era, there was Pachucas out there fighting with the guys as well. During the 60s, there were demonstrators out there in the strikes everywhere. There were strikes in Arizona, there were strikes here in California, there were strikes in Texas. We were part of that. There's a very good movie called Salt of the Earth. And Salt of the Earth depicts the miners and the miners' wives and their role on supporting their husbands, and how the women, take up issues with the machismo of the men.
I think your audio went out, or is that just on my end?
It's on her end.
Can you try to unmute one more time?
Okay.
Okay, that's better. I think we can hear you.
Mhm.
There you go. Can you try to say something?
Okay, mija. I
Yeah.
unmuted myself. Okay.
That's perfect. We can hear you again.
So I don't know if you guys heard what I said, but I don't know if there's any questions. I'm just I'm very jazzed up. I'm very hopeful. Because I see young people like you guys, taking up the struggle, keeping on gone on with the fight, because we have to, mija. We have to. I know.
I think one question that I do have is, as someone who has been organizing for a very long time, what do you think that maybe we can do as, I guess the newer generation, in a sense, coming in and trying to, in a sense, also shed light on the mujeres of our past? Because I feel like that hasn't been done yet. I feel like, we're taking strides in that direction. I think even I can say for myself, I was a Chicano studies major in college, and not until I graduated was there a Chicana feminist course. And so I see that we're making strides in a forward direction, but I would like to know from your perspective, seeing me, as an organizer, an activist, how could I bring honor and share awareness to of the mujeres that have been part of the struggle previously to me, the people that paved the way for me to have this space to be, you know, on the central committee of La Raza Unida party, right? To be an organizer, to be the speaker at an event, you know, like, you know, I spoke for La Raza Unida at the Chicano moratorium. And so historically, that wasn't, you know, that wasn't seen very much, you know, or women were to feel like less than, right, as organizers. What do you think I could do, or we, right, because there's other mujeres on here as well, what do you think we can do to kind of just reshape or change that moving forward?
Well, I think you know what seems to work, and I think now more than ever, Mija, I think that people like yourself and other young Chicanas writing the stories of the Chicanas that have been part of, you know, your mentors, probably, you know, the ones that have influenced you, the ones that have interesting stories. One of the things that I noticed about this society, when a woman starts rising, they talk bad about her. And there's some things that they could say about a woman to just bring her back down and have people see her in a negative light. I think that we have to point out that this society is notorious for doing that, especially to women, because we are a threat. We are a threat. When we start speaking strong, when we start speaking truth, we are a threat. So you know, they attack our character. They attack who we are, and they make up stuff about us. And you know what? In a lot of ways, I say myself, well, you know what? Prove it. If you want to say that about me, prove it. But sometimes the damage is done. So I think that what we need to do is expose that. You know, like these strong Chicana women, and they could be black and they could be native, and you know they could be progressive white. You know, these strong women um, um, dared to speak up on certain issues, and they were attacked by it, you know. And if they're the very first ones, they're more attacked. If it happens more and more, like with all those women who are coming out right now that are saying that they've been sexually harassed by, you know, producers and all of that kind of people in Hollywood, you know, the first women that did it, they were attacked and they were talked about and everything, you know. The second set of women that did it, they paid a little more attention. The third set of women, they already were going to court to take these guys to court, you know. So it's like the first ones get the blows, the first ones get the hits, and then from there on, you know, they're building so that the ones behind them could have a fighting chance, you know. But I think that, you know, we need to make it really clear. If you write, if you speak, if you just talk, Mija, and you make this clear to everybody, look, you know, I'm a human being. You know, regardless of my sex, I'm a human being, and I have a natural desire for things to be just, for things to be equal, for me to be treated with respect. I won't tolerate anything less than that. And if that's offensive to you, think about it. If that's offensive to you as a man or even as another woman, you know, because I've had sisters tell me, no, you talk too much. No, you know, you're too loud. No, you're this, you're that, you know. But I'm saying, you know, well, you know, yeah, you're not used to a woman being this way, but I am this way and I can't help it, you know. But yeah, so I think that if we write, Miha, you're an excellent writer, you know, and we put it out there, you know, and people read it, people will read it, you know, and people will identify with you and say, I feel the same way, you know. I feel as a Chicana, I feel that I could walk into any room. I feel that my brothers and my sisters in the meetings lift me. They don't bring me down, they lift me. They listen to me. I have valid, you know, grievances. I don't like the way things are handled in my classroom. I don't like the way my husband talked to me, you know. I don't like the way my father said that I should be, you know, or, you know, things of that nature, you know. I think that if we write and we talk and we expose, look, this is who we are, this is what we do. It may not be what you're used to, but you need to listen to me, because you know what? This is the wave of the future. And you have daughters and you have granddaughters, and they are the future. And we want to make a better United States of America for them. Es todo.
Yes. Thank you. And I think one thing one thing you mentioned right now too is like even the issues that we come across with sometimes women not in our own communities, right? And how we're seen or looked at as, too straightforward or too abrasive or too passionate, like I've had instances where at work I've cried about things because that I see things that have hurt students that were like me, and so there have been times where I have been emotionally taxed at work. And you have other white women who are like, oh, you can't let stuff like that get to you, right? And so it's just even understanding and being conscious of the fact that as my own experience as a queer mujer, my experience is very different than that of a white cis straight mujer, right? And the way that she perceives me, or the way that she perceives the way that I look or speak or communicate about things are not to her liking or to her standard, right? And so I think that also brings me back to the point of comunidad within our own raza community, and understanding each other, because it is in these spaces within La Raza Unida party, our central committee meetings on Mondays, or our study group sessions on Wednesdays, where you find that that camaraderie, right? That community, that understanding that I am not in this issue by myself. I am not navigating these things on my own, right? When so oftentimes we're trying to pave the way in different directions or in different settings, and sometimes it can be isolating for us and taxing, right? And so combating that by having these spaces of community that are so important for us to have our souls filled and to have each other, right? And so I know compañera here Silvia has other questions too, that she would like for us to kind of talk about and all of that as well. But we also invite folks that are watching us on IG Live to type your questions in the chat or any comments. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us today. We see you in the chat comments. If you have any questions or would like to say anything, please put it in the chat and we'll go ahead and repeat that over here so that we can engage about any questions or comments that you all might have. But at this time, I want to go ahead and turn it over to compañera Silvia, who's gonna, give us some questions, some food for thought. And, again, we invite those folks in the chat to reply to some of those as well. We'd like to honor your testimonials as well on this live session.
Thank you, compañeras. Thank you, Tia Stella. I wanted to know, I know you touched on it, but what are the roles of La Chicana in the partido, in the movimiento?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Okay, everything's open for women to participate, from the president to the secretary to the treasurer to to being in the central committee. There's no limit to what we can do or participate in. I mean, it's an interesting situation, because you could walk into an organizing meeting and find mainly women, and I say that with other situations as well. Sometimes in my dance group, it's all women. Sometimes we go do a performance and it's all women, and we're the consistent, we're the reliable ones, we're the ones that will do things for others. And yeah, I don't think there's any limits of the positions or the roles that women can take. We need more women. We need more women to participate. We need more women to give us their time. And you know what, mija, right now it's terribly hard because of the pandemic. We have to be careful with that situation, that in regular normal times, and hopefully we'll get back to them, we will be there. We will participate in every facet that La Raza Unida has to offer.
I think I'll also add to that too. And I'll say that I also feel we're more organized when it comes to a lot of different things.
Reliable. Yeah. Yeah.
Maria Zavala Paredes, a member of La Partido de la Raza Unida. But I wanted to add to that just really quick. We really need more mujeres to show up to the study groups. We really need your input. We really need you to learn with us and teach from us. You teach to us, you know, because there's a lot of great people on the study groups, pero las voces faltan de various walks of life of women, mujeres que son mamás, mujeres que trabajan, mujeres que son estudiadas, mujeres que no son estudiadas, just all kinds of mujeres to come to the study group. So right now, I think we really, really want to use this platform to recruit you. Come join us on Wednesday nights to help us learn from you. We also have platforms that we're developing as La Raza Unida Party, and we need input from the LGBT community, ¿verdad? Todas las mujeres que son de ese, you know, to give us that point of view, and so that we can have a robust platform for La Raza Unida. So I just wanted to interject that. So, pero gracias, Tia Estela, for your words, because we really, really, really want to make sure that we're honoring all the mujeres that you know organize, that were organizers before they even knew what the word organizer meant, right? And so muchísimas gracias. Sorry, Silvia.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and then to hear from everyone else, I know we talked about intersectionality. So what is intersectionality with the trans community for Chicanas in the movimiento, in the partido, in the history of La Causa?
I think I'll speak to that. And I think one thing I would like to say is that I feel like a lot of their voices are still missing. And it's not because they weren't organizing. It's not because they weren't there. It's because they have been systemically pushed out, you know, through just, I think, US society, right? And one thing I would like to say is, you know, with being someone from the queer community, I cannot speak on behalf of trans women. And, you know, I think that's one thing I think Maria was saying right now is we invite folks to join us because we are in the process of rebuilding and revamping something that is going to be amazing. And what we need is folks that have been systemically pushed out and shoved out of any form of organizing, any form of, you know, even like academia work, whatever it is, like we need to come together at this time and we need to formulate an organization that is going to include all of us within the Raza community. Because in order to make things better for the gente in our community, we need to have people from all intersectional identities. And having that is to inform the way in which we move forward with any, you know, positions that we come up with, or, you know, maybe change or papeles that we create in the formulating of the new foundation of El Partido de la Raza Unida. And I think that is so important because, like I said, I'm not going to speak to an experience that I have not gone through myself. And that is one thing I think that I love about our, you know, our group, our committee, our study group, is that folks speak from the I perspective, right? And what intersectional identities they bring and how we can inform that to, you know, do the position papers, the platform position papers that we're in the middle of creating, right? And so I, you know, again, with what Maria was saying, I want to call, you know, all of y'all who are interested in organizing or who have felt that you had to either choose culture or LGBT community, because I know what that was like. I know that in order to organize for the LGBT community, I had to be part of one group, and then to organize as part of, you know, La Raza and my culture and the people within my barrios, I had to be part of a different group. And so what we're saying is that this wants to be an all-encompassing group, but the only way that we can do that is if we have your voices to inform those changes, right? And so this is a new era. This is a new movement. This is changing, right? And it's not to say that we're forgetting the historical things that have happened. We're understanding those and also trying to make things better for the future, right? And we can't make things better if we're missing people from our community, right? And so I think the way we're moving forward really gives me hope. And it really, for me, at least, it has helped me to also know that I don't have to choose this organization because of this identity that I have and this other organization, right? Because it's also happened even being a mujer, right? I had to be part of like a different mujer circle because the hombres were dominating certain things. And, you know, I had to be freaking 4 or 5 meetings a week because I was so engaged in different parts of my identity. And so I think, you know, as we move forward, we want to invite y'all to understand that this can be that space and where we bring up different issues about our indigenous culture, about our issues as mujeres, as our issues within the LGBT community, because we damn well know as queer folks, we know that we do not fit in with the white folks and the demands that they are making as part of the queer community, because they do not understand, you know, our family structures. They don't understand how things work within our families. And while, you know, you have white folks telling you, oh, come out, come out, come out, you know, they don't understand the implications that that could have for, you know, a brown person within the community. So, you know, I think what we really would like to express is like, we need y'all. We need y'all to build an inclusive movement. An inclusive movement can only be inclusive if we have all those folks, you know, coming up with the ideas and the workshops and, you know, the platform position papers that we're working on, so that we know from that firsthand experience what we need to incorporate.
Did anyone else want to speak on that, the intersectionality?
Just really quick, I think that all these perspectives, I mean, I echo everything that Vanessa was saying, but also it helps us and enriches us and helps us learn from each other, so we don't, so that we're not so ignorant, right? There's a lot of people in my family that I can think about that say the most, just they think it's the most inoffensive thing, but it's very hurtful. And the only way to grow from that is to learn to read. First of all, to read about other cultures, other intersectionalities, and how does that fit into the partido, and then how to grow from there, right? Because a lot of the times we're so quick to dismiss an individual and not talk to them and not deal with them because, oh my God, they're so ignorant. They just don't know. I'm so enlightened because I went to college and I went to this and I went and I know this and I know that. But I think that what we want to encourage people is to do the opposite. Bring them in and say, mira, let's read about the struggles of our people in various different sections of the community, right? And how they've been excluded almost in every aspect of our community, financially, you know, in our businesses and everything, right? Education, todo eso. So how can we fix that? And then that person starts to grow, and once that person starts to grow, they stop using those foul, you know, names or those hurtful comments, or even for some of us that didn't marry, you know, I didn't marry till I was like in my 30s, and like, ¿cuándo te vas a casar? I mean, even just some of those things, ¿verdad? ¿Qué les importa? So I mean, but once you learn that that doesn't make you a woman, that that's not what, you know, makes you who you are, it's very valuable to learn from those. And if you're not part of the group, then we're missing out on how to not address people a certain way, how to properly incorporate people into the movement. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. And then just knowing history of the partido, I wanted to ask, how have the Chicanas and the partido related to other oppressed nations? I know maybe Estela has met other nations of mujeres who have similar struggles. Do you see any similarities or differences amongst other oppressed nations?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah, absolutely, Mija. We have so much in common with other oppressed nations. We can sit and talk to Black women. We can sit and talk to Native women. We can sit and talk to in Spanish or in their language to women in Central America and Guatemala, or women who have come to the country and suffer, coming the way they come through the country, having their children taken away. We can even with, and I say this because I have some progressive white friends that understand that they live a life of privilege, and understand that I don't, and understand that I may come off a certain way sometimes, but it's because of my experience, right? So here in the United States of America, we were first conquered in the 1400s by Spain, France, and England, right? They first came down. And they landed on top of the native people, and they brought slaves with them, and they brought Arabics with them, and they brought Jews with them, and they all mixed with us. They mixed with us. They raped us, they took us, they made us theirs, they enslaved us, and we are a product of that. So you can look into the eyes, and I see this all the time, of a young black man, and see the suffering in his eyes, and you can feel bad for him, because you could say, it's like you're my child, you're like my son, and all children of color, and all poor children. So we have this feeling, and I think it's some maternal things, and the older you get, the worse it gets, because I want to be everybody's tia, I want to be everybody's grandma, I want to take all of you guys, and protect you from the evilness of the country, but I also want to make you strong, and I also want to make you powerful, right? So and I see this, but so when we talk, and they're around us, Sylvia, they're around us all the time. You could see them walking in the street. I try not to stare, but when I see native people of Mexico, or of Guatemala, or of I don't know, or I think it's of Chiapas, that are walking around, and they're walking around in their traditional outfits. It's like they're the most beautiful people in the world that I've seen. When I see Indian people from India walking around in their saris, and everything, they're the most beautiful, and they're brown, right, like us. So I'm thinking they're the most beautiful people in the world. I can't tell you how many young black men approach me and tell me, you look just like my grandma, and I'm not surprised, because I look like their grandma, because chances are their grandma was native, and black, and so we had a lot of that going on right here. So I think we give off that vibe, mija. I think you talk about the events that you go to, which I think are very beautiful, and just the way they're entitled Breaking Bread. You're breaking bread, and you're sharing, you're feeding the community, you're talking to the homeboys, you're not turning them away. You know who they are, they're like your kids, that maybe you were like them. I know that I was like them at one point when I was young, and then, and I know how they feel, and I know that they're lost, and I know that they put up a front, and it's like, yeah, but you see, like Vanessa was saying, how do we make these groups not be fractionalized? You're not fractionalized. We're all one people. And in one family, and this, mija, in one family, there could be 6 kids, and they're all different, but they have one mom and one dad, and they take him in. Y lo quieres cada uno como es. Lo quieres a cada uno, and they have their qualities, and they have their defects too, and you work on that, right? And you say, mijo, no seas tan grosero, mijo, no seas tan hocicón, or whatever, but you love them, and you're teaching them, and you're raising them, but they're yours. You're mine, Sylvia. You belong to me. Maria, Vanessa, Ernesto, you guys belong to me. I'm going to nurture you and protect you, and try to help you as much as I can, because I see this, like, as a nana, as a tia, So I think that that's what the movement does for our people. If we feel this way, mija, imagínate, if we feel this way, with that security, with that, they said, I don't like to quote him a whole lot, but I do like to see him, Dr. Phil, we give our kids a soft place to land. This is yours. This is your culture. This is your people. This is where you fit in. Sylvia and Vanessa, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a danza practice and I'm dancing my you know what off, and I feel at the end we sit down and we talk, and I'm with the people who love what I love. I'm with the people who understand what I'm talking about. I speak Spanish all the time and they understand what I'm saying. I don't have to say it again in English or say it again in Spanish. I speak Spanish and they understand what I'm saying. So it's home. It's a place. It's where we belong. This is who we are. This is what we do.
I just wanted to add that thank you so much, Estela. And ever since I met Estela, I've never met her in person, just over the computer, and I just feel the love and the caring
Oh,
from
thank
her.
you.
And I just I really appreciate having her come into my life, even if it's on the computer. But I just wanted to add that las mujeres who join today, tomorrow, el partido, we're going to be the ambassadors to create bridges with esas mujeres from Chiapas, from Guatemala, from El Salvador, from Colombia, from Puerto Rico, and bring them into the partido and say there's space for you, hermana, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we are responsible to create those networks and work the networks that we already have. I live in Michigan, and there's a beautiful community of new immigrant women in Grand Rapids who all of their platform is in Spanish. All of their meetings are in Spanish, porque there's no other platform in the community that allows them to be who they want to be in their language, right? And I wish I knew some Nahuatl or some other, native language, because we have people from Central America que they still speak their traditional language, but we have to give them space, right? We can communicate with each other, not just through just showing affection through love, but also our comidas, right? When we get together to cook together, when we tejer, right? To do crochet, to do knitting, embroidery. And those are things that I think that we as mujeres, not just the ones on this platform, but the ones who are watching us, and then to join this partido so that you can help us build those bridges.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing that. And I will say, Maria, if you ever do get to come out here to the Valle or anywhere in Los Angeles when we do marchas or whatever, Tia Stella brings us snacks and she offers them to us to make sure that we're not hungry. So, but I do want to say that I think sometimes also unknowingly we realize that we do have a lot in common with other oppressed nations. And I think even for me, like as I reflected on that question, I think about even as a child, when I think about the friends that I made at school, and then even going into the workforce and, establishing my career, all of my really good coworker friends or people that I felt like I could confide in, or people that actually had my back about going to things to discuss with the union about, they were Black, Indigenous, and Brown folks. Like for me, I always found myself within those circles just talking about, hey, do you realize how this is happening to us, but not to others? Do you realize that, sometimes we offer ourselves to support and help with other people's programs and workshops, but then when opportunities come up for full-time employment, we're not getting them. Like, and it's that consciousness, I think, too, that brings us together, because we see things, right? And sometimes when we decide, okay, I'm gonna confide in someone, it's because we see a little bit of that struggle in that person, or we see, like the Estela was saying, in the eyes of that person, the suffering, right? And the discontent maybe that they're experiencing at work or at school, right? And so I think sometimes, whether we can formulate it or not, I think unconsciously we do identify with other oppressed nations, and so I think, just kind of consciously thinking as, we look and move forward and we continue to have these conversations, is taking it back to that conscious thought of really understanding that even though we may not have the words for it or we may not see it at the moment, I think for a lot of us, we do end up, realizing like, oh, we have more in common with those folks, than we thought. I'm not living in just this bubble of, this only affects, my barrio community. There are other barrio communities or other communities, poor communities, in different areas that experience this as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you, compañera. And then the last question would be, how does the partido uplift the Chicana empowerment? And how can people make references to the partido? Where can they look up the information?
Well, I think they're in the websites, Mija. There's a lot of stuff. I a couple of years ago I did a thing on International Women's Day, and one of the things that I researched was, of course, the women's suffrage thing and everything, but I think Ernesto sent us this. It's the history it starts off with originally introduced in 1970 by the Chicano movement, okay, in the Bay Area. Well, if you look at the second page of this, it talks about the demands the women made, okay? And I don't know if you want to read them, but it talks about keeping the preceding statements in mind. We resolve the following, and it talks about exactly all of this, Mija. I don't know if you want to read them or you want me to go by, but you could find these. You could find these online. You can find this online, and you can also find this online. This is part of the community. Oh no, wait a minute, I'll tell you what it is. Okay, this is the Liberation Conference. Okay, the Youth Liberation Conference in Denver, Colorado. There is a section in that statement that said that's where they came up with el plan espiritual de Aztlán, and it says amongst the conferences and the participants, 160 Chicanas. As a result of this is really small, Mija, of the caucus, there was a Chicana caucus that was developed out of that, So I'll let you guys look it up and read it because you could find it online. I'm telling you, it's like, you could get all this information now when you couldn't before, Also, and you guys probably already have it, but there's this book, 500 years of Chicana history. It's got a lot of stuff in there, But yeah, so, it's there. It's there. We just have to sit down, we just have to read it. We just have to, and this one is easy reads because it's a little bit, and it's in English and Spanish. I would love to get a copy of this to my compañera in Wisconsin. Maria, I would love you to get a copy of this, I'm going to look it up and I'm going to send you one. I need your address. So, later on me lo mandas, okay? Para que all of you guys should have one of these, but it's just, leave it around. I gave one to my granddaughter. She's only 8 years old. And she looks it up and she reads about things. And today she was so excited because she said, Nana, you're going to do a meeting about women? And I go, yeah. And she goes, oh, good luck, Nana. Don't forget to mention Frida Kahlo, So, because she's got her favorites, right? And I go, yeah, Mama, I will. But she's my little favorite. Her name is Emma Cermeño. And I have another one. Her name is Heather Cermeño, and a little boy named Joaquin that needs to know how to treat women, that needs to grow up respecting his sister and his mother. And so, yeah, mija, we're going to do our best to do that.
Estela, I do have that book. I have a couple of copies. There's a picture of me in the book. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
In what section? I'm gonna look you up, Maria.
Michigan section. I'm not sure what exact page it is, but yeah.
Okay. Vas a ver, I'm gonna look through it again. Vas a ver. Thank you. That is so cool. I got this book at Barrio Logan in San Diego when they had Chicano Park Day. They have a Chicano Park Day in the barrio up there in San Diego. And this lady up here in the corner, she's Virginia Carmelo. She's my dance teacher. And so I saw her and I got all excited and I said, oh, ella es mi jefa de danza. Y yo bailo con ella. And the people that were selling the book were saying, yeah, sure, lady. Yeah, sure. You dance. Okay. Well, no me crean, who cares? But she is, But that's the name that was on the screen earlier. But yeah, mija, that's wonderful. That's great. Yeah, you see, we have a history. We have so much to offer, Maria. We need to put it out there, and we need to create an interest so that they could come in and grab it and start reading it and start feeling good about themselves. Yeah, I think so. That's a good plan.
I think also, Silvia, to kind of go on your question as well, one thing that I would add is I feel that El Partido allows us the space to come together and to voice our opinions and our concerns without filtration. I think, we have meetings, we have study group, right? And I've never had an issue with being silenced or being told, your time is up, you can't talk. I feel like in every situation, I'm given time and space to say whatever I need to say. And I don't feel like I've ever been censored. And I think that that's what I appreciate. I feel most empowered when I can come into a space and be authentic and say what I need to say without anybody, coming at me or, trying to speak for me or change my words and restate them in a new way, right? Because that happens to me way too much at work. So, I appreciate that. Like, I feel that collectively we work together, right? Because this is part of education. Like, I think, socially, people in every community have been pushed to see women as different or less than, right? And I feel like within our space that is not the case, and I think that's because we are in the space, we're taking up the space, and we're making our words and our ideas heard. I think we're also being empowered more so now than ever to be the face of the movimiento. I remember, when I was approached about speaking at the Chicana moratorium, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, right? And I speak for a living at work, but why was I so scared to do it, at, the parque and like talk about things that I know about, right? Like, so I think it was also the group empowering me, and even, the hombres in the group were saying like, nah, like you speak well, like do it, like, and so I think I feel empowered in the space, because even when I second guess myself because I've been taught to do so by society, I'm reminded in this group, like, I have power and I have words to contribute to my community and to the empowerment of La Raza, right? And so I think in the space, I feel empowered just being here and hearing, even from, Tia Stella and Maria and even you, right, Silvia, in like the spaces that we're in, and hearing what we're doing in the community. Like, I'm empowered by that. I'm empowered by sitting, in a Zoom room with other, Chicanas who are making changes and trying to uplift our community in, our quest for self-liberation, right? And so I think every week I'm empowered by being with y'all. So I don't know. I think that in itself is empowerment. Yeah.
Definitely. And then just a few more tips that you can tell us, Tia Stella, any tips, anything you might want to tell us, any guidance for us Chicanas going forward?
I think that, people are very observant. I think women and men are very observant. I think as people of color, we've learned to listen and to observe, And I think that, right now when Vanessa was saying that, that we make her feel this way, I've been in situations where a look, mija, a look will set me off, because I know it's a look of disapproval or, of arrogance or something, and I react to that, and I'll either clam up or I'll say something, But I'm thinking, I think that we're all conscious. We're all very conscious Chicanas. I think that we're all very aware of who we talking to and our surroundings. And I believe, that that when you go into a meeting with us, you can say what you want, and you know that you won't be criticized for it. I'll tell you, for the longest time, not like that, not like that at all. I was very overshadowed by my ex-husband, and and um and I told you, yesterday, that he was very abusive. On the outside, he was a revolutionary and an organizer, and he did a lot of stuff for the United Auto Workers. But at home, he was very abusive, and he left that imprint in me and my children, where it took me a while. It took me a while, I would say a good 10 years, to finally realize that I didn't have to live in the shadows of a man, and that I was never going to put myself in that situation again. And I think that our little stories like that, Mija, will influence and inspire women who are going through it right now, because there's a lot of that stuff going on right now. And I'm telling you, I realized that my ex-husband was a product of this system, and he grew up thinking that that was the way to be, especially towards the person that most loved him, that was most devoted to him, that was most dedicated to him. He had to make me feel lesser than him because he already felt bad, and I realized that, but it was too late. It was too late. I mean, he left, I got strong, and I didn't ever take him back. I tried, but I couldn't. I couldn't. My better senses said, "Don't do it, don't do it," But so it's like we realize, it's almost like we wake up. As old as I am, I woke up, and I said, "I'll be damned if that happens again." I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die happy. But yeah, So it's like So you think about these situations, and I think people, well, that hear us, people that we come off to, mija, te digo, una mirada says 1,000 words, una mirada, una attitude, It's like, I don't have time for you. I remember I didn't forgive her for the longest time. I saw this teacher that went by a little boy that was so happy to see her that he said, "High five." And she said, she didn't want to give him high five. I was so mad at her for the longest time. You can't even imagine what I thought of that lady, and she came around, and, she turns out to be a nice person. But why did she do that, man? She really, made me think bad of her por no darle la mano al niño. No se le niega la mano a nadie, menos a un niño, And I thought, imagine how that child felt. So it's like, wow, okay, so you see, our actions, the way we come off, speaks volumes, Okay.
Thank you. Gracias, Tia Stella. And gracias, Silvia and Maria, for, being here, and for sharing your story with us, and for giving us historical context on, organizing within el partido and within el movimiento. And, we're so honored to have you, and that you're still with us organizing and part of our meetings. And we're so happy to have you, and we're honored to have you here and to have you share a story with not just us, but with, the raza of our community who's watching us through the live stream. And, with that, I want to go ahead and wrap us up and thank everyone who's watching us through Facebook Live, who logs on whenever we have these pláticas. We want to thank you for joining us today, Raza. If you're interested in La Raza Unida, you can add us on Instagram and Facebook at La Raza Unida Party. And again, just to reiterate, we have our study group sessions every Wednesday at 5 Pacific Standard Time. You can sign up for those on www.razaunidaparty.org and click study group and fill out the form to join. We look forward to connecting with you all again. Again, I was your host today, Vanessa, but we're out for now. We'll catch you on the next one. And don't forget to engage with us through our social media sites and through our podcast as well. Have a great night. It was good seeing everyone and good having this plática. And I just want to say que viva la mujer.
Que viva la mujer.
Chicana power.
Que viva.
Chicana power.
Chicana power.
Dios.